Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Getting Intimate 2.0. Today we have another singer-songwriter with us who actually his stage name as his surname. So here we have Ray with us.
Yes, that's true.
Hello.
You remember that, thank you.
Yes.
You actually remember
This time I made sure I remember
Yeah,
it.
you made sure you remember it. Yeah.
So, first things first, of course, how did you get into music?
I actually started learning classical Indian music when I was around 8. And I learned it for a good year. But then I remember telling my mom at the age of 9 that why am I learning music? Because I don't want to become a musician. Because my entire process at that time was that I wanted to become a cardiac surgeon.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I studied everything for cardiac surgery till like I was about 18. And then funnily, what happened is when I went to college, I was doing science, but majority of my friends were in the art section. And I met a couple of guitarists over there. And that's from where I got into the whole music aspect of things, because he made me play a couple of things on the guitar, and then I heard his band perform, and then I was like, this is pretty cool, this is something I want to try. So from trying, it just became like a habitual process for me, and then it just like cardiac surgery went out of the window, and
Wow,
this
that's pretty
became
cool. I
the
think
process.
art students really influence science
Yeah,
students.
a lot.
I've done that myself.
A lot. People don't realize the amount of influence an art person has on a normal science or a
Because you're not missing out so much.
Exactly.
So you started singing properly at 15, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I did. Actually.
And you never thought you'd become one, but as a kid, maybe, under the age of 5 or 6 something, were you into music back then, before you were doing classical?
So the thing is that I always loved music because like growing up, like my father's collection in music is insanely good. It's insanely good. I'm not even joking. Like one of the things that I've still maintained in in our house is his vinyl of the 1972 Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh wow, that is so cool.
And like those, so I've literally grown up listening to stuff like that. And one of my fondest memories of my father is at the age of 5, where we were listening to the Dark Side of the Moon album along with Queen's The Greatest Hits album.
Whoa.
So growing up, I've always had like a good like I wouldn't say a knack for good music, but like I've been brought up in an environment where people had a good knack for music. And going beyond that, actually my grandfather used to listen to a lot of Bach and Beethoven. So it's like, it's crazy the range that it goes to, and all those CDs are still there.
Definitely.
So like, yeah, I was always into music, but I never knew it would be like my calling. Then finally when I was 15 or something, like, you reach that stage where you're figuring out what should you do in life.
Right.
Like I wanted to do cardiac surgery, yeah, true. And then this had also entered life at that time. So you're on that flux. You're like, what am I supposed to do? An uncle of me actually made me sit down one day, and he was like, what is the one thing that you can do every single day without getting bored of doing that?
Right.
And the most spontaneous answer that came to me in that moment was, I can listen to music. Because he looked at me and he's like, so pursue that. I was like, oh, like what in that? Then you sit with yourself and you figure out, okay, fine, what exactly in music do you like? And then from there, that is how I realized.
And everybody always runs behind the job or the money, but
exactly.
If you love your job, you don't feel bored to wake up.
That's very true.
That's the whole
and
point of it.
And the funny part about that statement, it's so cliched that people say it so often, that love what you do what you love, sort of thing. But like till you actually hit and figure that out, like that, you don't actually value that
you have
statement,
parental pressure to do something, but once you choose what you want to do for yourself,
very true.
You never wake up,
very true.
Getting bored for the
That's
job.
Very true. That's
so
very
you
true.
said you listen to a lot of rock music. Is that why you've been, become a rock artist yourself?
Yeah, actually, so my favorite, I listen to a lot of rock music because like the 90s was a lot of punk rock and pop,
Right.
So like because of listening to stuff like that, and like also the CDs that my father used to listen to. So rock became like my go-to music when I felt, I wouldn't say alone, but when I felt for myself, like it became my solace.
Okay.
But like I've never had like a particular genre that I've always loved. Like for me, like I've always defined music as something that just needs to sound good to the ear. Like it can be rock, hip hop, pop, it can be anything. Like it doesn't matter. Tomorrow, like for example, and I look at music as something that is universal from a standpoint that everyone needs to listen. Everyone loves music.
Right.
Like tomorrow you may not go to the cinema to watch a movie, I may do. Like tomorrow she may go like to shop, but I may not. But what is the one thing that's common on the planet? It's music. Like I may listen to We Will Rock You by the Queens tomorrow. Guy on the road may listen to Sheila Ki Jaywani. It doesn't matter, but he's listening to music. So the most universal and the most common language is actually music.
So how about your first song, the first one that you ever sang? How did that come about?
So like Devil Woman was actually Devil Woman is not the first song I ever wrote, to be very honest. The first song I ever wrote, I've not even released it yet. Like I'm waiting because that is like a proper rock song.
Are you gatekeeping it?
Yeah, I'm gatekeeping it for like, so I've had this dream of mine that the day like, you know, the name becomes big and all, I'm going to release like just an album of just every song that I've made, just like a rock version of all those songs, because that is like my honest.
This is like Taylor Swift really pop. Or Shania Twain, but
Shania Twain, yeah, I know. Something you can say, yeah, of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like just like an entire, or like Eric Clapton's Unplugged album, like
yes.
something like that. Like just like an entire rock album, like of all the songs that I've ever made. But yeah, as like how did Devil Woman come across was Devil Woman actually. So the first 4 songs that I wrote, which is Devil Woman, Shadows, Wicked Games, and Turnaround, they actually are part of like this concept that I ran through my head, which is basically this thing called ascension.
Okay.
So how I look at it is basically ascension is basically people go through a lot of hardships in life, right?
Yeah.
Like yours are different, mine are different. Like we live in a world today where we don't want to acknowledge that, but like it's true.
It's true.
Yours
yes.
are different, mine are different. So like what you may have gone through in the form of hardships, I may not have, and what I may have gone through in the form of hardships, you may not have. So
Right.
I was going through this phase of time in life where it was just going ups and down, and it wasn't even like there was no up also, as a matter of fact. It was just down, or like it goes lower,
rock bottom.
yeah, or rock bottom, or it comes down back to like bad normal.
Okay.
But so it was that kind of a phase. So that is the time where you actually start realizing that how much of the good times were better than what you're in. So I realized that to finally get to the happiness part of things, like you need to go through mainly 3 emotions. That is how I looked at it.
Okay.
One, you need to go through anger because you're pissed off for where you are.
Right.
Then you need to go through fear, because unless you go through fear, you're not going to like literally fear the position you are in.
Exactly.
And once you go through fear, then you actually go through the sadness of it, because then you've actually accepted that, okay, this is the bullshit that I've gone through, and that is when you actually make peace with it, and that's when you come to the happiness part of it.
Right.
So Devil Woman, Shadows, Wicked Games, and Turnaround were actually all songs that related to those emotions. So Devil Woman was about anger, Shadows is about fear, Wicked Games is about sadness, and Turnaround was about like turning your life around and bringing it back to like happiness. So that was
That's
like
actually
an
a
entire...
really good concept. Did you
Yeah.
publish it as like an album? Or
I actually did. I actually just released them all as singles because I didn't put in like the entire...
you should actually club
I
it
know I should
together
have.
and do like a rework or something as an album,
And
because it's a really good concept.
That is what I plan. That is what I want to do. Actually,
As a
also,
rock,
like bring
okay.
it out. Yeah.
So how about you sing Devil Woman for us?
Oh, I actually can. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Crystal ball right in front of her. Thunder falls, lightning reappears. Purple eyes, seeing everything. Sexual mind, she stood there for me. I didn't know how to run. Her footsteps closed in mine. She was foxy, baby, in the night. She's the devil woman in my life. Her eyes, why they made me sigh all the time, playing with my mind. Tell me why these things you did to me. In the end, she found me waiting. I didn't know how to run. Her footsteps closed mine. She was foxy, baby, in the night. She's the devil woman in my life. Yeah, that's devil woman.
Wow. So I didn't know this was your first song when I was actually listening to your music before. I actually really like Devil Woman, and I never knew it was your first song.
Oh yeah, so Devil Woman was my first song.
So what drives you, when if you've ever faced a writer's block with your music or something, what drives you into, writing more or, getting back to music?
To be honest, I've had a writer's block very few times. I've never had like a writer's block very often, touch wood. So I hope that doesn't happen again. But like it's happened twice or thrice. But in that moment, nothing really motivated me. I just gave myself that break. Like, just take your break.
Right.
Probably nothing's coming. So you don't, because how I look at a writer's, like the 2-3 times that it happened when I couldn't write, I was like, you'll end up writing shit, just don't write.
Exactly, yeah.
Give yourself space, something or the other will come. But on a day-to-day basis, if you're asking me what motivates me to like get up and like make to work
More
every
music,
single day, it may come off as very arrogant what I'm about to say, but like I just want to be the best.
It's not arrogant, it's basically you're competing with yourself,
Yeah, I just want to be the best.
Which is pretty good of a thing to do also.
I genuinely just want to be the best. Like it drives me every single day to like, I'm very, very attracted to the word GOAT that we use today. I'm really attracted to that. And I see how we use that word in cases of certain individuals and what we look at those individuals as. Messi's, Ronaldo's, the LeBron Jameses of the world, the Drakes of the world, the Jay-Z's of the world.
Right.
We really use it only for very few of them.
Right.
And when you see in hindsight how they got to where they got to get just that term, yeah, they may be making billions. But I believe that if you ask them, would they rather have 5 billion or would they rather have that term GOAT next to their name? I think they're taking
They'll take the term GOAT.
because they know if you get to that GOAT status, you're obviously
will
going
get the
to get the
money
5 billion.
anyways,
You're
yeah,
going to get that.
that is true.
So that is what drives me every day. Like to get to that state where people look at me as the GOAT. And obviously, I'm not going to be the greatest of all time because there are 100 greatest of all times.
But you could be in your own genre if you
In
have a
my
fixed
own
to
right.
one.
Exactly,
Or
in my
even,
own
the
right.
very fact that you keep on changing music, your genres all the time, you could
Exactly.
even be pretty good at that as
Exactly. In my own right. I want to be
Right.
the greatest of all time in my own right. Like I want to be in that sphere, of the greatest of all
Fair.
time that people talk about. So that is what drives me actually.
well. That's nice. So how many songs do you have released so far?
Oh, so far I've got 8 songs. 8 songs.
And all of them are singles, not
All
one
of them
album?
are singles. No, all of them are singles. But so the thing that I have now for this year is that I have this idea of a concept in mind, actually, to be very honest, that I'm going with. I released a song last year in October 29th, by the name of Dur.
Right.
Keeping that song in mind, I've got another 3 songs. So like, how we have in books and in movies, we have trilogies.
Yes.
Like 3s, which even like a lot of artists are also doing right now with their
Right, yes,
albums.
they
Like The
are.
Weeknd is doing with his album, and like
Yes.
Drake also did with his album, like the trilogy. I want to do something which is very different, and probably I'll be the first one who's ever thought of this and who's going to be doing this also. Is that the other day I was just Googling. I was like, what are a accumulation of songs called? So they're either called an album or they're called like an EPs.
Right.
But like just 4 singles. So I was like, okay, I don't want to drop an album. I don't want to just drop like an EP or a mixtape. I want to drop something
Right.
which has a connection, but I don't want it to be called an album. So what are those called? So it's called a quartet, apparently.
Yes.
So when 4 songs come together,
Oh, yes.
it's called a quartet. So the next thing that I have in mind actually is that I want to drop a quartet, and I want to be the first one to drop a quartet, because I actually Googled this. Nobody's ever dropped a quartet, because the reason why I want to drop a quartet is, when you're dropping an album, you have to go with the flow of the way the sound is of the songs,
Yes.
like, of like the lyrics or like of the concept of the album. It has to be the same thing.
Right.
The way I'm going with the quartet is that I don't want any of those 4 songs to sound similar.
That is really different.
Exactly. I just wanted to have a basic concept that aligns all 4 songs together. None of the 4 songs need to sound similar.
Wow.
So Dur was the first song of that. The next song after that is another song. So the basic concept that I'm keeping in mind for the quartet is memories.
Wow, that's pretty.
So like all 4 songs are going to have like different genres. Dur, as you can say, was like a rock experimental sort of thing. The next song, Q, is it's trap hip hop.
What?
Yeah, it's that's what I'm telling you. Like, I want to be that first guy in this Indian indie scene that has like this entire concept of like a quartet where you don't need like to have a particular genre to run through.
Right.
The third song is going to be more of a Afrobeat summer
Oh
house
my
kind
God.
of a vibe, and the fourth song is going to be like a completely 80s retro disco
Oh,
sort
that's
of a
cool.
thing. Yeah, so that
So you've
is it.
released Dur, but you haven't released Q yet, right?
No, I haven't released Q yet. Q actually right now is the production is done completely, vocals are done completely. It's under the mixing and mastering stage.
Oh, wow.
And Q will come out. And also with Dur, I just released like a mini 30-second video for the main part of Dur, which actually we didn't tell anybody, but that was actually the trailer for the entire quartet.
Oh, wow.
So you know how the Weeknd did that thing? Like, did you all know that you're like experiencing a trilogy?
Oh, yes,
So
yes,
that is
yes.
how Dur is going, and like the other 3 songs are going to have music videos for all of them. And the
Pretty
last
cool.
song is going to be like all 4 of them together as a quartet. So yeah. That's
So how about you sing Dur for us right now?
Oh yeah, okay. Dur was like a, and Dur was actually random. You know how like Dur was written also. So the whole idea of this quartet came to me like just like 15-20 days ago, to be very honest.
Oh.
Dur was actually originally just a single solo.
Okay.
And Dur I wrote also when I was actually when I had quarantined myself.
Oh.
I had gotten COVID.
Okay.
And I was sitting in my room and there was only the guitar and that my studio also wasn't put up as such. So I just had my guitar and I was just sitting randomly and I was just playing, and that's how Dur came about actually. Because I just felt feeling very lonely in that moment. I was like, man,
That's
sitting in
like
my room.
your rock bottom for you
Yeah,
at
like
that
I'm
point,
literally
yeah.
Dur from everyone right now. Like, you know, in a
Hence
way,
the
so I
name.
was like, yeah. So I
Fair.
was like, what can I do? So that's how Dur actually came about. But so. Sitting all alone now, patiently in this room, hoping all for you now, 'cause I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to go. Sitting all alone now, patiently in this room, hoping all for you now, 'cause I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go, I didn't know where to go. Yeah. क्यों तू मेरे यादों में आती, मेरी जाने जा मुझे तड़पाती, जिंदगी का एहसास मुझ में है तू, तेरी आंखों में देखना मैं चाहूँ, तेरी बातों को समझना मैं चाहूँ, ऐसे ना जा मुझसे तू दूर, क्यों तू मेरे यादों में आती, मेरी जाने जा मुझे तड़पाती, जिंदगी का एहसास मुझ में है तू, तेरी आंखों में देखना मैं चाहूँ, तेरी बातों को समझना मैं चाहूँ, ऐसे ना जा मुझसे तू दूर. Yes, that's good.
Wow.
That's good. Thank you.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
That was amazing. So before we wrap this up, what are your plans for 2023?
2023.
Is your quartet, apart from your quartet?
Apart from the quartet, no, I got a couple of projects that I'm working on with other different artists and all. But like my main primary focus is the quartet, which I'm hoping that I'll end by mid year.
Oh,
because
okay.
then so that the next half of the year I have something completely different.
That's nice.
But yeah, the main goal for this year is just to be very honest, take it a day at a time. be happy with what I'm doing, enjoy every day as it comes,
Right.
and just keep getting better and better, because that's the only thing that's
That's
in
like
my
a good
mind.
mentality,
That's-
especially this year is actually going to be good for everybody. I really hope that.
Exactly, and that is all that's in my mind actually. And yeah, to be very honest, I just want to take it a day at a time, see where it goes, because I know that it like that much confidence I have कि किधर तो पहुंच जाऊंगा.
Right?
पहुंच तो जाऊंगा. Just take it a day at a time. Don't rush the process, because the more you rush the more you rush it, the more you're just going to get
And
frustrated.
there's no point in rushing it actually.
Absolutely. That's the
Anyway,
best
so it was amazing speaking to you.
Thank you
Ray.
so much for having me. Thank you so
I'm
much.
actually
for
just going to
having
call you Shubham now because
Yeah, you
everyone
can-
knows your artist
me.
name.
Call me Shubham. You can call me Shubham.
So thank you everybody for tuning in, and
Thank
thank
you.
you for watching. Bye bye.